You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after what was a frigid and frustrating night for the Atlanta Braves on Saturday at Truist Park. A 4-1 loss to the San Diego Padres on a night that they were hoping to be celebrating both the legacy of Hank Aaron and sporting their brand new City Connect uniforms. Other than looking pretty stylish, things did not go or look the way the Braves wanted to once this game began. We're going to talk all about it here on the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Go ahead and click the bell so you get notified every time that we drop a new episode. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that'll help out. And you can leave your comments and we'll get to some of those. I got a lot of them on Twitter, actually, that we're going to discuss before this episode is over. A lot of feedback on this game as it was, again, very frigid, very frustrating. And Jake, I think that, as you look at this game, just in a vacuum, really nothing went right for the Braves. Charlie Morton was on the mound to get things started. A little bit better than in St. Louis, but still having to kind of grind his way just to get through 5 innings.
Yeah, you said is nothing really going the Braves' way. Really, the last 2 nights, over in St. Louis, everything went the Braves' way. Last night, you had a missed grand slam by a couple of inches. You had a couple of balls tonight that, one that just off Matt Olson's glove. It's just like these last 2 nights, things just haven't quite broken the Braves' way. But bottom line, the offense really didn't give much support either. And yeah, Charlie Morton really struggled with command in the first inning. I was actually somewhat encouraged after that. Still just the efficiency not there. It's kind of the same with Strider the other night as well. But yeah, just a rough night all around for the Braves pretty much.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Charlie Morton, but it's interesting you said that word efficiency. That's something that he said in his post-game comments that he wished that he had more of. A couple pitches he would have liked to have had back, and just kind of trying to continue to work the puzzle and figure it out. But as far as the pieces of the puzzle the Braves were dealt on this night, well, it was a loss at the hands of the San Diego Padres, who are now 5-4. 4 runs, 8 hits, no errors, 10 men left aboard for the Padres, who went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, still won this game. Braves 6-3 after dropping back-to-back games against San Diego. Run on 5 hits, couple of errors. As Jake mentioned, it was kind of a sloppy game with 7 men left on base for the Braves and only 1 hit with runners in scoring position for them as well. 1 for 7 on the night in that department. Michael Wacha picked up, I believe, matched a career high with 10 strikeouts. 2-0 now on the year. Charlie Morton takes the loss, drops to 1-1. Josh Hader, it was a little bit shaky early, but he was able to settle in and convert his 3rd save of the season, 2nd in as many days against Atlanta. Game lasted 2 hours and 55 minutes. Crowd of 40,154 paid to see it on a very cold night at Truist Park. Let's talk a little bit more about Morton, because I do think that as far as things we were looking for, trends maybe that you could be encouraged about, a lot more swings and misses in this game, Jake. He doubled his total from that first start. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned. 3 walks for him, 6 strikeouts. He did give up a home run to Juan Soto on a full count pitch, decided to challenge him rather than to walk him, and that's a dangerous game with a guy like Juan Soto.
Yeah, it is. But with nobody on, I'd rather him do that because the guys hitting behind Juan Soto are pretty good as well. So again, like I said, outside of that first inning where he really just struggled with command, I thought it was a pretty good version of Charlie Morton. He just had to throw a lot of pitches early on. And look, credit to the Padres. They've done that to all the Braves pitchers in this game, in this series so far. But I really thought, the changeup was really effective for Charlie Morton, especially against left-handed hitters. So again, for me, this was a step in the right direction for Charlie Morton from his first start. Still, obviously not quite there to what we expect, but, I think it was definitely a step in the right direction, at least for Charlie Morton, trying to get back on track. The 6 strikeouts, the swings and misses that you mentioned, I think this was more of a typical Charlie Morton start, again, especially after that first inning where he just couldn't command his pitches at all.
Yeah, 12 swings and misses on the day if you are scoring at home. 104 pitches, though, to get through 5 innings. You talked about efficiency earlier, Jake. I think that would probably underscore that the Padres lineup, and definitely credit to them, this is a very good San Diego lineup. We knew this was going to be, I think, a really tough series between these 2 clubs. You marched into St. Louis and you swept a very good team. Sometimes you're going to go out and it's just going to be this back and forth. Braves were able to get one over on the Padres in walk-off fashion in the opener. But San Diego, the last couple of nights, has had a few breaks that have gone their way, and the Braves offense has cooled off considerably from what we were seeing in the first couple of series of the season as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the Braves offense in just a moment. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about Game Time because buying tickets to your favorite sporting event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's talk about the Braves offense, which unfortunately on this night was pretty much Matt Olson and very little else. Matt had 3 hits, including a double. He knocked in the only run for the Braves in this game. Sam Hilliard, Ozzie Albies had the other couple of hits, but a lot of just, I think for the Braves, just at-bats that didn't really end up going their way. Some strikeouts, of course, mixed in there. They just couldn't seem to string together really anything offensively on this night.
No, they couldn't. And credit to Michael Wacha. I mean, he had really good stuff tonight. I mean, he was placing his pitches right where he wanted to, not throwing hard, but just that location and command, that we've talked about, something that I think some of the Braves pitchers haven't quite had as much of, at least the past couple of games. But yeah, the hitters just on a cold night, you knew the ball wasn't going to travel. I thought Rosario barreled one up really good in the second inning, and it went absolutely nowhere. So, again, not blaming the weather. Obviously, the Padres had to play in it, but you just knew there wasn't going to be a ton of offense for either team, and there really wasn't. And, the Braves just were unable to string some hits together. A lot of swings and misses, probably way too many strikeouts against Michael Wacha. But again, he was really good in locating his pitches, living on the corners and the edges, making the Braves go after those pitches, but just hard to get really anything going. And like you said, Matt Olson, the only one who really had much success tonight. It's going to take a little bit more than that in the lineup throughout in order to put up, more than one run, which they were able to finally scrape across to avoid getting shut out. But just a cold night for the offense.
Yeah, cold in many different ways. You thought maybe in the 9th inning they could get something going. Maybe Josh Hader was going to have a little bit of trouble with the elements out there. He wasn't really throwing as hard as he normally does. He found that velocity as the inning went on, but he was out there throwing 93, 94, unable to locate. Braves get 2 on, nobody out in the 9th inning. That, I think, is one of those frustrating innings for everybody, the Braves and Braves fans alike. You see an opportunity like that, you think maybe you can apply some pressure and put him on the ropes, but Hader is one of the better closers in all of baseball. He's been that way for a while, and he was able to rally on the mound and figure out what he needed to quell the Braves' hopes of getting anything done in that 9th inning. I do want to talk about something, unfortunately, that was a big story from this game, and for the Braves, it's becoming a bit of a trend here early. Another injury to a key player, this one Travis d'Arnaud. Crazy 4th inning play as Charlie Morton was in a little bit of trouble. d'Arnaud was hurt at the plate. Rougned Odor colliding with him. A couple of runs it looked like came across. It ended up Rougned Odor missed home plate. He didn't miss Travis d'Arnaud, though, as he clocked him pretty good, and d'Arnaud eventually had to come out of the game. The Braves appealed the play, I believe, at the plate, and it was ruled that the runner had passed Odor before he touched home plate. So he was called out. His run didn't count. That really doesn't matter as much as the condition of Travis d'Arnaud. We found out after the game, 7-day concussion IL is the high likelihood for Travis, who came out of the game, I believe, about an inning or so after that, or maybe was replaced defensively in the bottom of the 5th by Sean Murphy. Either way, Brian Snitker indicating that they could be without Travis d'Arnaud for a little bit. Jake, this is just the latest in a long list of injuries that, while we hope is nothing serious for d'Arnaud, we want to see him back as soon as possible. Atlanta kind of the walking wounded here amidst a pretty good start to the season, but injury has become a storyline that we've talked about far too much.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little frustrating. I mean, we're thankful that none of these at least seem to be major, but these guys are trying to get into the groove of a season, and get into a rhythm. And now you got a lot of really good players who are out. I mean, d'Arnaud's been one of the best hitters for the Braves to start the season. Michael Harris, your best, defender in the outfield and center field, has, a lot of value lost, even if he's not hitting. And obviously Max Fried, your ace right now, is down. Kyle Wright is out. I mean, this is, really starting to pile up for the Braves, and thankfully they do have some depth, and they do have obviously Sean Murphy, who's a good catcher himself, and Chadwick Trump, who had at least one really good game for the Braves last year, who's likely going to be the one that gets called up if Travis does go on the concussion IL. So yeah, it's frustrating because you want to see your full team out there and see what they can do at full strength, because they've been pretty good already to start the season. But it's just these nagging injuries that come up. And again, this one just very unfortunate. And it was a really hard hit to Travis's head there. I mean, I was honestly surprised he stayed in the game as long as he did. I mean, he took a real good shot. We know Rougned Odor can pack a punch with his fist. His hips, they pack a punch as well. So yeah, hopefully d'Arnaud's okay. Hopefully if he does go on the concussion list, obviously everything's okay there, and then he's able to come back. But yeah, getting a little frustrating seeing all these Braves players continue to get hurt and have to go on the IL, miss time.
Yeah, and I would agree that, if you look at that play, I mean, not only is it frustrating, but I mean, I kind of wonder, why are you going in standing up there? That just seems to be a place that you're going to slide. And there's been a lot of attention put on the catcher rules and the rules to protect catchers at home plate. He's got to be able to go after the ball. I mean, that sometimes will take you into the lane, but I'm really surprised there wasn't a slide on that play. It was going to be a close play at home plate. It ended up being a bizarre play, and Travis d'Arnaud ended up getting hurt as a result of that. And that's what immediately caught my eye, was the way that he kind of got spun around at home plate. But again, hopefully Travis will be able to, get back as soon as possible. He has had some concussions in his career, so this is something they're obviously going to take very seriously after they had him looked at. They're have decided that this 7-day concussion IL appears to be the route to go with him. So speedy recovery to Travis d'Arnaud, but, taking the time he needs to make sure that this entire thing is behind him before he jumps back onto the field and gets back behind the plate, which, as we saw tonight, just from the number of foul tips straight into the mask of the umpire and both catchers and the d'Arnaud play, it was a pretty brutal night if you were wearing that protection behind home plate. And on a cold night, I can't imagine it was too much more fun either. But as you look at all of it and add it all up for the Braves tonight, unfortunately, offensively, it didn't add up to much at all. Bullpen, a little bit of a struggle again for Kirby Yates. And I think that as you look at, you brought up the injuries that the Braves are dealing with. No Raisel Iglesias. You lose Colin McHugh. You're going to need some of these guys to step up. Dylan Lee certainly did on this night. He looked good. Danny Young came in up from AAA Gwinnett to help out as well. But I still think that you're a little bit shorthanded right now. And certainly it would be nice to hear that Raisel Iglesias is going to be close to coming back within the next maybe week or so. I still haven't heard if he's going to begin throwing in the near future or not. But without Iglesias, you knew that this bullpen was going to be tested. Take McHugh out of the equation. Now it just gets a little bit more so tenuous out there, I think.
Yeah, it does. And look, the Braves have been winning a lot too. So they've really had to rely on this bullpen to close out some really close games. I think Minter pitched in 4 of the first 7 games of the year. So, I mean, it's been, thankfully they've been winning these games, and they've had to use their best bullpen arms to kind of close these games out. So while you never want to lose, it is good to kind of get some of those guys or some rest, but it is very shorthanded down there, and you're losing, you're without 2 of your better guys right now in Iglesias and McHugh. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with Kirby Yates and Sean Murphy, but Kirby Yates just is not giving him much help back there. And I'm sure Sean Murphy is frustrated as well with the wild pitches getting by, although I'm not sure there's much he could do about some of those wild pitches. But yeah, those 2 couple of times already in this series, seeing them cost a run with a runner on third and a wild pitch. But yeah, it's tough out there for the bullpen right now. Again, looking for them to hopefully get fully healthy at some point, and they're really testing that depth. They had to DFA Seth Elledge as well for the move that they made today. That was some bullpen depth and the minor league levels. So again, those guys are being tested right now with how thin the Braves are because of injuries.
Yeah, they definitely are. And it's going to continue to happen throughout the course of the year. And as you mentioned, if AJ Minter's throwing 4 out of every 7 games, he's going to make 90-something appearances this year. And I can go ahead and tell you that is probably not part of the plan. And that is a little bit too much tax to put on some of your better relievers. You're not going to be able to pitch that much. You're going to have to get other guys to step up. Yates is one of the guys the Braves really need to. He's had a couple of rough ones back-to-back especially. And, on this night, the offense not scoring, it just kind of adds more frustration to the pile to give up an extra run late in the game. But offensively speaking, the Braves didn't have many answers for Michael Wacha and the Padres pitching staff either. So it was kind of a wash in that regard. We're going to talk about the finale of the series, which happens on Sunday at Truist Park. It's a night game as well. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you the question that I think you have been wanting to know is, what would it be like if you could be the general manager of your own professional baseball team? Well, if you've tried out Pro Baseball GM, then you're going to get a little bit of a taste of that, because if you download it today, it'll let you manage every aspect of your franchise, playing through the season, leading your franchise and fans to glory as you build what you hope will be a historic dynasty. You have to hire the right coaches and staff, manage the team's finances, scout and draft players, deal with free agency, manage those difficult personalities and injuries, all of the things that GMs have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Locked On Braves Postcast listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON in the game store. Go to probaseballgm.com, Scan the code or find it in the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. Now, the Braves are going to be looking for a split of this series against the San Diego Padres. It's a 4-gamer. Dylan Dodd, the lefty who looked so good in his major league debut against the Cardinals on Wednesday, he goes up against Seth Lugo. We're very familiar with him, longtime New York Met, getting the opportunity to start for the Padres. Looked very good against Colorado in his first outing, so it should be interesting to see how these two guys match up. Jake, what do you need to see out of Dylan Dodd in start number 2?
Yeah, more of the same. Pound the strike zone. I mean, again, we've seen starters for the Braves in this series struggle with command at times. I want to see Dylan Dodd get back in the strike zone. A very good team, obviously going to be a big challenge. And really just on the other side, I want to see the offense get back to what we've seen and see them, score often, score early, and kind of put Dylan Dodd at ease so they can feel comfortable going out there and pounding the strike zone against this very good San Diego Padres lineup. But just kind of more of the same. What we saw the first time around would obviously be good, and seeing that offense come out and put up a big number early like we've been accustomed to seeing them do a lot this year.
Yeah, I don't think I can come up with better keys to victory than those. Dylan Dodd, the lefty, going against the Padres, and Seth Lugo as the Braves look to split this 4-game series. 7:10 p.m. Eastern time is the first pitch at Truist Park for Game 4 against the Padres. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. You will get the Braves Postcast and all the other great stuff Jake has for you all season long. Once again, a frustrating and frigid night for the Atlanta Braves. The bats were cold, and a 4-1 win for the San Diego Padres was the result. But we will catch you after the finale on Sunday night. Until then, he's Jake Mastroianni. I'm Grant McAuley. We'll talk to you next time. So long, everyone.